Let me ask you something. How many contractor jobs have you applied to, jobs you were perfect for, and you still get ghosted, ignored, or passed over by someone with half your experience? If that's happened to you, I want you to hear this clearly. It is not because of you. It's because the system is designed to keep you in the dark. So today, I'm about to expose the hiring secrets government contractors never tell veterans, the real meaning behind the job postings, why veteran preference doesn't matter, how they actually pick candidates, and the salary games they play behind closed doors. Once you understand this, you'll finally know how to beat the system that's been holding you back. Let's start with what contractor job postings really mean. They're not real jobs. I know that sounds crazy, right? But it's not in the way that you think, so to speak. Many contractor positions, they're already spoken for. The company posts them basically because it's a legal requirement, even if they already know who they're going to hire. Another thing is the proposal. So a lot of postings only exist because the company is bidding on a contract. They need resumes on file to prove they could staff people, basically. So these jobs won't hire anybody until the government awards that contract, which could take months. That's a big one that they like to do. Huge one. Let's talk about also the required versus desired qualifications. So the descriptions that they're posting, they basically copy pasted right from the government document. So if your resume doesn't match the same words or acronyms, basically, the system filters you out before a person even ever sees your resume. Hit up herohiresolutions.com. Can definitely help you take care of that. Another part of this is the fake slash pipeline posting red flags. Some of you already know. Postings stay open for months. You go looking at that job and you're like, this has been up here for all these months. Are they struggling to fill somebody? No, they're just keeping it open. I was told that they keep those open because in the event that they lose one of the contractors, they already have a full pile of resumes that they can just go through and let me hit this person up, let me hit that person up, because they want to get those positions filled and keep them filled all the time. Contingent on award, another big one. I don't know how many times I've seen contingent on award. Potential openings, similar to the contingent on award. That's another thing that's out there. Another red flag is the obvious recruiters ghosting you. Recruiters love to ghost. It's terrible. Stop ghosting people, recruiters. And also, if the description sounds like legal jargon, nah, definitely just a red flag. Then let's talk about why veterans get passed over, even with veterans preference. Veterans preference, guys, it's a federal hiring rule, not a contracting rule. Let me repeat that one. Veterans preference is a federal hiring rule, not a contractor rule. So a lot of people don't know that, especially when those who have done, 20 years or even more, and they get out and you got your disability, you're like, wait a minute, what about my disability leave? Well, unfortunately, that disability leave does not apply in the government contracting space. Vice versa. Someone gets out and they're like, hey, how come that person gets to do that shift? How come I'm locked down to this 30-minute break and they can sit here and come in and just work the core hours and they're gone? Or they can just come and hit their hours, they're gone. They're not hit with its overtime or anything like that. Well, because again, there's a difference between the GS and the government contractors, obviously. So basically, because what this video is about, the government contractors do not have to follow the same rules. It's completely different. That veteran preference, nada, buddy. So some other things is quite obvious that the missing required certifications. So there is no negotiation power that that government contractor has when it comes to those certs. If the government says, hey, these people need these certifications, it is what it is. There is no, well, let me try this. No, it is what it is. Another thing, your resume doesn't match the contract keywords. Again, hit up Hero Hire Solutions, will help you take care of that. A big factor that people don't pay attention to also is overqualified. You're too expensive for the contract. And this is a big one because there's a lot of folks who've gone to graduate level schooling, right? Like myself, graduate level in my doctoral studies. So congrats to everybody at that level, by the way, also. But it's very particular with the doctoral level because with that, it's basically like, okay, this person is too high up, overqualified. That's the way that they're viewing that. Even with certain certifications, right? With over a decade of experience, especially you guys that are like 30 years in the game, right? Done all that time. So they're looking at it as if we can't afford you. Bottom line, we can't afford you. So you're overqualified because they rather find someone who has the minimum qualifications. And with that minimum qualification person, that's the individual who's not going to want to negotiate. They're going to take what is offered by the government contractor because now that's what they're worth to them. And what I mean by that is the individual. Okay, well, the government contractor offered me this. I don't have much experience. I don't have no degree. Okay, cool. This is my worth. That's how it works. So that individual is going to quickly accept that salary. And that benefits the government contractor because it's about the money. Now, since that person took that salary, the government contractor is making way more money off of that contract. Your clearance doesn't match the exact category. So don't be, don't think because your happy ass got you a public trust that you about to go get a job with a Yankee White House clearance, right? Or if you don't know what that is, let's say you about to get a job with a top secret clearance and you sitting there with a public trust. Nah, not happening, buddy. Another thing, of course, I'll say the stereotypes. I'm not gonna go into those, but you guys already know with that. So basically, it it has nothing to do with your value. It's just how the contracting world works. That's the best way to sum it up. Now let's talk about what actually gets you hired though. So contractors care about one thing. It's similar to what I just spoke about. They care about that money. Can they build the government for you immediately? Not today or tomorrow. They looking for immediately. Not, oh, I'm dropping my 2 weeks notice. When I want to take a vacation week on top of that, I gotta use. Nah, buddy. Nah. Can they build a government immediately? Because that slide's gotta get filled and bills gotta get paid. Gotta make that money. So, four things I say that get you hired. For one, I would say, of course, it starts with the resume, obviously, right? So it has to have the match with the resume. HeroHireSolutions.com. Second, if they are putting out there that they're looking for certifications, required certifications, it's not optional. That contract required certs are a deal breaker. They are. Some people don't think they are, but actually they are. The clearance level. Again, I just spoke about that earlier with the public trust and you trying to get that top secret clearance for an example job. So the right clearance can actually beat better experience. It can. Being billable. If you can't start quickly and meet the minimums, hey, it is what it is. So since I've just talked about some certs a little bit, briefly touched on it, let's talk about what certs. From my experience, the major one has been the PMP. And on a contract that I recently was on, for example, that was someone who had no experience in project management. He's like, this is like brand new to me. He said, I got this job because when I was transitioning out, I got my PMP. He said, I don't know what I'm doing. That's just straight up. But I'm getting the experience here because I got the PMP. So that's a huge cert. And they look at it as like, okay, this individual has leadership experience because they've done X amount of time. Hey, let's rock and roll, buddy. You got that certifications. Here it is. Because that's what the government's looking for. But on the individual perspective, they get in the role and like, man, I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing, but hey, like the military, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna figure this thing out. So PMP is a big one. The next one I would say is a CompTIA, of course. I would also say for HR, the PHR. Would also say the CEH, Network Plus. Also the AWS Cloud Practitioner. That's a good one. Any other certs out there that you guys can think of, just drop them below. I'm just naming the ones that I can think of right now that what I've seen on top of that, because I'm pretty sure there are a lot more. So those are basically great certs to have, especially with what you're trying to do in that government contracting space. Next, let's talk about the contracting hiring practices, how they differ from the civilian sector, because it's different, way different. So for you guys that are new to government contracting and trying to get into space, if you're expecting that lengthy interview or having rounds of interviews like the civilian sector, you in for a surprise. I would say the contractor interviews are definitely short. They're checklist based and they're usually under, let's say, under 20 minutes. I would say really mine's been, if I want to say average, really like 10 to 12 minutes or something. Like they're very short. Reason is because the way that this works, it's not like, okay, this is the hiring panel. You're talking to the hiring manager. It doesn't work that way. The government often decides whether you're approved. The way that works is the contractor, they're going to submit you to the core, known as the contracting officer representative or the government manager. So if they don't approve you, you ain't getting hired. Let me say it again. If that core or government manager don't approve you, you ain't getting hired, buddy. That's just how it works. So the contractor doesn't control your daily work also, by the way. A lot of you know this. You're looking at, okay, these are my tasks. Once I'm getting in, this is what I have to do according to my contract, blah, blah, blah. But once you're in, the government customer controls your tasks, your workflow, and sometimes even your work hours. And the reason I say they control your work hours because there's a reason that there are core hours that exist. You have to be in at this set time and you can't leave earlier than this established time. That's how it works. Let's talk about something you guys probably been waiting on to get to, that pay structure and the salary game that contractors like to play. They love to play it. So if you look up jobs, you'll notice that majority of the contractors don't do what? They don't post salaries. Let's talk about why government contractors don't post salaries. Because they want to pay you as little as possible. The less that they can pay you, the more money in their pockets. And they want you to name a number first. The reason they want you to name a number is because if you come under that minimum that they had established behind closed doors, oh yes, we about to make some money off of this person. We got to definitely make this move quick. Hey, Core, look, we got somebody. We got a good one right here. We got somebody that's willing to take way less than what we even set out there to offer. So we about to make a killing. So let's move on with this person. Salary, you got to look at it because salary cuts into their profit, right? So that's that's the big thing. And the contracts, they have billable rates. Let's talk into how the contractor pay actually works, since I've just mentioned the billable rates. So the government pays the contractor a billable rate for each labor category, and you get a slice of that. So the company keeps the rest, usually for overhead and for profit, obviously. And that's why two employees doing the same job can have completely different salaries. So you can be sitting beside someone who, say, has like 3, 4 years, sometimes even like 2 years, and you've done 29 years of military service. And you're like, hey man, just curious what you making, because let's face it, salary talks happen in the office, especially with contracts. And when you hear their salary and they're making 10, 15 grand more than you, you're like, what? Yeah, that's the game, y'all. That's that's how it works in this contracting space. So let's talk about salary negotiations for a bit. I'm going to briefly talk about this because obviously this is a huge one and can probably talk a whole video plus on the salary negotiations. So I'm just going to say this. Here's the part that they definitely don't want you to know. Use this. What labor category does this fall under? And what's the billable range? So a lot of recruiters, they're going to accidentally reveal the numbers here. I'll repeat it once or twice. Don't say it again, right? So what labor category does this fall under? And what's the billable range? Make sure that you ask that, because what they want, like I said earlier, is for you to give your salary requirement first because of coming under, of course. So when they keep putting the pressure on you, because they will, they're going to put pressure to get the salary requirement from you. Just simply say something like, I want to make sure that I'm aligned with the approved labor category rate. Yeah, got them good, right? And so once they submit the resume to the government, as we spoke about the approval process, it's not done through the hiring manager or through that recruiter. So once it's submitted and the government is acceptance of you, ready to move forward, you now have leverage. So at that point, they need you more than you need them. As crazy as it sounds, but that's how it is. They need you more than you need them. at that point. So that's when you talk back with that recruiter, because they're the ones who can control the salary, negotiate the salary, move those numbers. The billable hours, like I said, comes from the government, but that contracted company, they can control the salary that they're paying you. What you want to do is target I'd say minimum between 65 to 75% of that billable rate. And I think that's very fair pay, because there's going to be a lot of folks who know nothing about this, and that contracting company is making a profit of like 70%, even if it's 60, or 50. That's a lot of money that they're making. And you're talking about the imbalance between employee A sitting right there, employee B sitting right there, C, and so on. The ranges, that's why they're paying different ranges like that, as I spoke about earlier. So you don't know how much money they're making off the next person sitting in there, or specifically if you look at yourself, once you found out about that billable rate, you're like, man, they're making all this off me. So imagine what they're doing to everybody else. Again, like I said, I won't talk about this too much, because I want to get on and talk about other things as well. But you want to do, you want me to do a full video on this, just let me know in the comments. I can definitely do that as well. Final thing I want to talk about, you guys, is the application tricks that actually work. So if you never heard of the ATS, look it up. It's a real thing. Uh, with your certifications, clearance, the keywords, all of these things need to go at a certain point on your resume, certain position basically. So with that, make sure you hit up herohiresolutions.com to get your resume situated so you can go ahead and get that government contracting job. So I hope this has cleared up some things for you guys about government contracting. I know someone had messaged before and was like, hey, you said you did a video on that before. Yeah, the video was, I took that down. But here it is. This one is much more detailed and 10 times better. Because let's face it, the government contracting world can be a bit confusing, especially with the rules, especially with the salary not being out there. It can be a bit confusing. So don't forget to like, comment, share this video, ask questions, and comment, what you think down below. Let me know, like I said, if you want me to go deeper into about the salary negotiations as well. So it's been fun, guys. Catch y'all later.